Well, good day, good afternoon, happy lunch, happy evening, and good morning. We're spanning the globe. This is Harry Brailsford of SMB Nation. We're at part 4 of our 6-part online educational series. We've quickly picked up the handle spring semester with this. So before you all go on summer vacation, we're having a 6-part series. We're in part 4. It's a security topic today. We're going to get to that in a moment. Really appreciate the audience last week. That was quite a robust audience. As you'll recall, I was coming to you from DataCon in Denver, Colorado. That was a great conference. Next week, I'll be in the Bay Area Tuesday, Wednesday. That's a business trip, but if any of you are on the line and want to get together, say Tuesday night, for a good old-fashioned SMB Nation Beer Fest or something, let me know. Again, I'll be in the South Bay Area next Tuesday, Wednesday. Following that, we have the SMB Nation team at Microsoft Inspire, formerly known as WPC, and we're just hours away from sending out the announcement. I will tell you this, our Beer Fest is Sunday, July 9th, from roughly 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Might be a slight adjustment on the hours. Maybe, Jenny, I think that was 7:30. But needless to say, Sunday night, outside of WPC in Washington, D.C., also known as Inspire. So keep your eyes open for that. And then you'll also see us at ChannelCon in Austin, and late July, early August, the annual CompTIA event. So that's kind of what's on the landscape for now. That's some of the housekeeping. Next week and the following week, of course, we have our 4th and 5th installments of the MSP Tech Talk grant next week, followed by Carl Palachek the week after. So with that said, we're talking Threat Landscape Report today. So this is an academic webinar, and we worked with the gentleman who's presenting it. We have rehearsed and worked with them this week to, as always, provide real content along the way. And with that said, I think, be sure to use the question feature. Yes, it's Mark McClure. I'm sorry. Mark McClure will be joining us from Synnex. I shout out to our sponsors. So we have Mark McClure from Synnex joining us at midpoint, followed a little bit later with Joe from Fortinet. And without the sponsors, we wouldn't be here. So we totally appreciate their support as we make it rain, make it happen. With that said, sir, let's get going. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience, and let's talk about Threat Landscape Report 2017.
Hello, guys. My name is Douglas Santos, and I'm a security strategist for FortiGuard Labs. FortiGuard is Fortinet's threat research and response group. We are a global team that spans a wide array of research. Basically, the main responsibility of my team, because FortiGuard itself is subdivided into a lot of other teams, is to be the technical glue between the research that's being done on the back end and our field system engineering, our sales engineering community, our partners, and our customers. And one of our main responsibilities is coming up with a quarterly threat landscape report. Okay. And this presentation will go through some of the key findings, highlights, and I'll talk briefly about what my team does in a little bit more detail, so you guys can have a little contextual information to understand what we do and why we do it. Okay? Okay.
Yep, that sounds good. Let's rock.
Okay. So FortiGuard has been with Fortinet for more than 17 years. It's one of the key pillars of our company, and we have a dedicated security research team. Okay, we are basically one of the leading security vendors when it comes to patents and research and cutting-edge security research. We have a team of individuals who are constantly looking for zero-day vulnerabilities. We got a team dedicated to malware research and reverse engineering. And we have obviously a couple of engineers who are responsible for maintaining the backend systems, because when you think about maintaining an engine, for instance, intrusion prevention system engine. You get the developers of the engine, and you got the database of the engine, which is basically the signatures. And today we have close to 20,000 IPS signatures. So there's a life cycle to each one of the signatures, and we have systems in place. So all of this is FortiGuard. Okay, we have people who are dedicated to maintaining our engines and databases. We have people dedicated to security research, cutting-edge security research, which is basically what I told you, reverse engineering of new malware samples and zero-day threat research. We have my team, which is the security strategist team, also known as the FortiGuard system engineering. Okay, and one of our responsibilities, as I told you, is coming up with the threat report. We have a lot of good information on this threat report, and the data that's the source of the data that we use for the report comes mainly from two places. We have what we call our threat trends database, which basically aggregates threat information from all of our worldwide sensor network that's partly made up of custom device that are deployed in customers, and when the customer deploys the device, it has the option to share threat information with us. The same way that when you install a software in your endpoint, you may select to share information about crashes and other important things that happen with your software to the developer, so they can better understand the environment, can better build software to defend the network. Okay, so with that, this is the first part of the data source of the report, and we also have what's called the Cyber Threat Assessment Program. This is a program that Fortinet has developed to. The way that works is we have a FortiGate device, and we plug it into the customer network, and we plug it behind the firewall. So the idea is to give the customer another view on the traffic that's he kind of think that it's secure because it's behind its current security infrastructure. So with that program, Fortinet sits on the client's network for a couple of weeks, and it tries to understand everything that's going on. So it's profiling applications, it's profiling information about threats, users, and it's also profiling the productivity of the user, because if you understand that most of your traffic is YouTube and Facebook, this is obviously hurting productivity, right? And this is a free assessment. Anyone can just sign in and get another view on the security posture of your network, and that data could be shared, if you guys want, with Fortinet, so we can better have more coverage for this report. Okay. So just a little bit about FortiGuard. As I told you guys, we are a technical glue between all the research that's being done on our back end and the system engineering community, our partners, and our customers. Okay, so whenever a threat breaks loose, as how happened with WannaCry, we have queries from all around the world. Hey, how does Fortinet defend to these threats? What kind of products can we use? What versions? Is there any configuration that must have done in order to block this? So we also do this kind of internal incident response so that customers and partners have a complete understanding on how to effectively fight breaking threats. Okay, and we also, because we do a lot of research in the back end, some of this research is then converted into presentations that is then we talk about it in security-related conferences, industry, and partner events. Okay. Well, all of this information, all of this research is basically transformed into what we call actionable threat intelligence. Okay. So once, for instance, Fortinet, as I told you guys, Fortinet does zero-day threat research. Okay. When we discover this information about this given vulnerability, we automatically create a signature to defend against this. and because Fortinet, we practice what is called responsible disclosure. If, for instance, we discover a vulnerability and we report the vulnerability to the vendor, but the vendor does not fix it, we cannot disclose this to anyone. So basically, the 0 days discoveries that we do, and the vendor does not patch, only our customers have protection for this. So this is a very important part of our research and our work, is to be ahead of the bad guys, right? Discovering things before the bad guys do, and providing that as effective protection to our customers. And this comes in many forms. We have an antivirus service, anti-spam, web security service. We have vulnerability management service and application control service. One of the most intense workloads that we have today is just its own application control service, because as you guys might know already, the internet is a huge place, and applications, which are basically websites on the internet, have sub-applications. These applications are constantly being developed, and we gotta have systems in place to automatically understand if an application has changed, and how can we adapt our signature to effectively deliver control to our customers, right? Most of the networks won't like to have their employees accessing all of the application, all of the sites that are not business related. So this is an important part of security and user productivity as well. And well, all of this protection obviously results into a better security posture to our customer, and this is expressed by the numbers. These are some of the numbers that we have about the protections that are being delivered to our customers worldwide. So we are basically giving them more insight and more information in order for them to better protect themselves. So we have a lot of 0 days. We have hundreds of thousands of botnet communication attempts that were thwarted per minute. These are basically infections that took place, but probably they were somewhat interrupted because they could not communicate to the command and control. We have 100 intrusion prevention rules per week, and those are new rules that could come as a result of 0-day research from our labs or for some of our partners. And we have update of signatures as well, okay? And we have, basically we have a system in place for all of these databases, but one of the most robust and important systems is one that manages the antivirus, because for instance, on one given day, Fortinet receives close. Oh, screen sharing is paused. Why? Sorry, guys. Are you guys seeing her again?
Let's see. We see the hero slide by the numbers.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at the report. This is basically all of the report, and one of the main interesting things that we've seen on this report is that it distributed each threat and in terms of volume, prevalence, and intensity. Okay, so that paints a bigger picture when talking about how prevalent a threat is, how strong has it hit a certain region, and that information is very important for our customers. Okay, so one of the key takeaways of this report is that ransomware is still expanding. Okay, and it's not only expanding in size. We have seen attempts from cyber criminals to kind of adapt their business models in terms of ransomware, because what was happening was that most of the ransomware victims kind of have a little backup of what they done, or didn't even mind losing some of the data. So cyber criminals, with understanding that was the case, what they did was that they created a ransomware that, before encrypting the files, it would exfiltrate those files, because they would have another thing to play if the victim does not want to pay for the ransom. and they will go, okay, you're not going to pay, we are going to publicly shame you because we have data from your customers, you're going to lose business, you're not going to lose the productivity or the data that you think you're going to lose. You're also going to be hit in your image, right, in your brand reputation. So this is happening as we speak. The ransomware itself is very profitable for cyber criminals, and especially when they have launched it. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard about this, but there is something called ransomware as a service. And if you guys browse to the deep web or the dark web, you'll see that there's a marketplace there. It's incredible. It has a marketplace. And but so far, this is again understanding that this is really an industry, it's a cyber criminal industry. And what they did was a couple of months ago, if you wanted to become part of the ransomware as a service, what you should do is you just choose a ransomware, you just pay an upfront fee, and you are the one responsible for disseminating this information, right? Sending this to emails, and setting up infrastructure to deliver the payload. And what would happen is that the profits from the ransomware would be shared again with the ransomware author and the people who are disseminating it, right? So what we're seeing is that most ransomware these days are not even charging the upfront fee, because the cyber criminals understood that scared some people away. Some people was like, I'm not gonna lose my money. I don't trust these guys. Are criminals. Why am I giving away my money to them? I'm not sure if this ransomware even works. So what they are doing right now is that they are increasing the share to the affiliate, and they don't have upfront fees to begin with. So this is interesting to see how they are really looking at ways to maximize their profits and adapt their strategies to still become efficient in infecting and delivering ransomware to the overall community, right? And as WannaCry break loose, we have seen one of our FortiGuard predictions coming to light. We are talking at the end of 2016 about the automated attacks, and this is basically what WannaCry was, right? It was a ransomware that exhibited worm-like behavior, looking for with a wide range of attack patterns, right? It could exploit the Eternal Blue vulnerability on SMB. And it could check for presence of a backdoor. So we're seeing more and more of that automation coming into place, which is something very worrying, because the rate of spread is way higher, as we've seen with WannaCry, right? Automatic attacks, again, not only being the sole responsibility of WannaCry and other worms, but we are constantly tracking botnets, which are millions of devices which are used to launch attacks, to scan for vulnerabilities, and to try to leverage any opportunity to break into networks. So the majority of attacks are still opportunistic in nature, okay? And one interesting thing, obviously, that's going to happen is the increase in total mobile malware volume, okay? And we are seeing most of this malware, mostly 95%, are related to the Android platform, and that's amongst other things due to it's more easy and more prevalent platform. Okay, so if for instance, if I'm a Virus author and I want to maximize my work, I would write a virus for the most used platform worldwide. And we've seen an incredible rise in the number of total ransomware. Mobile malware from 1.7% to 8.7%. That's almost a fourfold increase, and we're expecting it to be way higher. This is the average. Obviously, we have some regions such as the Caribbean, which has as much as 50% of all malware is related to mobile platforms. Okay, so that's amongst other things, because probably the mobile platforms in those countries are more prevalent than desktop platforms, or probably because of an ongoing campaign, it's hard to tell with absolute precision what might happen, what this might be. We also had to kind of put together conjectures to explain most of this. Are you guys still seeing? I'm not sure it's pausing here.
Yep, I see the more mobile malware screen.
Yeah, now I changed.
Yeah. Now Android on the rise. Woohoo!
Yes. And you're seeing not only a gigantic increase in the number of malwares, but they are different, right? There are different families. That clearly indicates to us that we have different cyber criminal groups with different agendas that are using this platform in order to monetize. We've seen a lot of applications on the Google Play Store that were they were bypassing basically the security mechanisms of Google. One of them was the Judy. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of it, but it was a game. It was like a kids game where this Judy girl was a cooker and she had to cook some meals, but it was basically a malware that was embedded on it. And what they did was, once they submitted the application to Google Play Store, there was no malware on it, but the application itself was modular. So they submitted to Google. The Google say, okay, on this piece of software there is nothing wrong, and then later they updated the malware, so it would be part of the software, so it would silently collect information about the user and would use as means of gaining information, private information, generating revenue through clickjacking. So this is happening as we speak. Okay. Regional prevalence. Mobile malware rose in every region except the Middle East. This is not very clear as to why, but this is some of the stats that we have. Okay. Encrypted traffic jam. The ratio of encrypted traffic is rising per year. Okay. If I remember correctly, the last year we have about 50% of encrypted traffic. Now it's 55%. And this is both a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because for one, it's obviously a good thing to make sure that your secret information or confidential information is not tampered with, it's not disclosed. But at the same time, it is an avenue for malware delivery, for exploit delivery. So make sure to understand what are the capabilities of your security devices when inspecting SSL traffic. This is a very computer-intensive, CPU-intensive application, and make sure to understand what kind of encrypted traffic, what is the portion of encrypted traffic on your network before sizing for buying from firewalls, right? If for instance you have malware being delivered via HTTPS, will the security device be able to see it? How is it configured, right? So this is both a good thing and a bad thing. Make sure that your defensive tools have this capability to inspect deep into SSL traffic, and because most of the malware these days are being delivered via this way. Okay. The cloudiness of cloud apps. Cloud app obviously is rising amongst organizations. This is a very interesting thing business-wise because it allows you to quickly spin a new server, a new service on the cloud and try it out, see how it works. And once it's not needed, you don't have the hassle to obviously deal with a server that's old. You don't have anything to do with it. So, but obviously, everything is not all good, right? Once your application is on the cloud, you may have some visibility issues, right? Because You might not understand how it's being accessed, from who it's being accessed, if it's being changed. So it poses, as good as it is, it poses and it imposes a different posture into dealing with this data, right? Fortinet, I'm sure other vendors has this as well, but Fortinet has released what's called a Cloud Access Security Broker, which is basically a plugin that will gather information from like Office 365 or Google Docs, and it will give you information about how your data is being used, if it's being accessed by who. So data challenging is obviously data visibility is obviously a challenge when moving to the cloud, which is basically something that basically cannot be stopped, right, because of all the marvelous benefits of cloud applications. But keep in mind that you must understand that the visibility will be an issue and how to deal with it. Okay. Well, vertical vulnerability. Well, as I've said, this comes together as most of our vulnerabilities are still opportunistic, right? Because most of the networks still runs Windows. Most of them runs some kind of Cisco or Juniper network. They might have appliances that kind of are used across the board. So they are using this as a means to automate attacks and to exploit similar attack surfaces more easily, obviously, right? This makes complete sense. So make sure to review your security posture. I would like to think that come from a state that you're, okay, let's pretend that we have been breached. What must we do? We should look for every corner. We should baseline our network traffic. We should understand our access controls. We should understand what our risk, how to manage it, right? And as adoptions of new cloud, of new technology grows, make sure to understand what is potential impact of that, of the adoption of this technology to your business. How can it interfere with your business if your security infrastructure today has the ability to cope with this new technology? So this is something to keep in mind, right? Obviously, minimize the accessible attack surface. This comes again into us reassessing your networks, what is the business objectives and how they map to technology, right? This is one of the key areas of struggle for most business today, right? Saying efficiently and essentially taking that business objective language and mapping it correctly to technology. So that comes together as obviously minimizing the accessible attack surface, make sure that only the people who have access, should have access to something, has access to it. And the bottom line is that, and that aligns pretty well to what we are been talking about, automate, right? The security fabric is just like this. As we have seen the rise of automated attacks, we should have and build automated defenses, right? Because the volume of threats is so big and they're so becoming stealthier in nature. So that only behavior-based analysis will be able to caught, right? So this is something to keep in mind as well.
Hey, Douglas.
Yes.
Douglas, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, it's 12:30. So, a couple of things. If you don't mind, let's just take a brief pause.
Okay.
Folks, if you've joined us, some folks came in a couple minutes late. I totally get that. If you've joined us, this is the 4th installment of the 6-part MS, the replay of the video with our thank you letter that goes out shortly after the webinar. A replay link for the video, a replay link for the webinar. We have a poll up. While that poll's coming up, let's see, Mark, are you out there, my friend?
I am indeed, sir.
Okay, so we're going to let Jenny keep that poll up for just a second. While we're doing that, where are you today? Are you back in the Carolinas, or where might you be located?
I am perhaps 15 feet away from our favorite Jeff Rigsby in the Greenville office here in South Carolina.
Oh, okay, you scared me when you said 15 feet away. I looked to the right and saw Astro, the mascot of SMB Nation. So you actually, you actually scared me there for a second, sir. Well, I appreciate you hopping on to answer a couple questions. You know what I'd like to do today? So let me give you some context, Mark. That Jeff and I have talked over the past couple of lectures about the Cloud Advisor program pivoting to CSP. And I think people have fairly broad, they have good awareness of that for today's purposes. I'm interested in seeing what insights or visibility you might have into FY18. Fiscal year 18 at Microsoft starts on July 1st. So Microsoft is on a mid-year fiscal. And Mark, as you know, a lot of vendors, a lot of people in the Microsoft ecosystem kind of align with that. Not necessarily your fiscal year, but a lot of the motions align with that, if that makes sense. And first question I have for you, and again, if you can't answer these, don't worry, I get that, is the Microsoft SMB Live workshop series. And it's been a popular workshop series, and Synnex has participated in that. What do you know about that in FY18? Is that coming back? Will Synnex possibly be involved in those?
So the word is that it will continue into FY18, and that the cities and schedules are yet to be determined. Synnex's participation next year will be a lot like last year. It's going to depend on the schedule and the city and our availability, but in general, we will participate and be there and be resources in the room.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that. I think Microsoft does, the format can change kind of from year to year, but people have thought that's a good use of time. In terms of the Microsoft competencies and the partner program and the way you participate as an MSP or partner with Microsoft, are you hearing anything on new competencies being introduced, or maybe those are unannounced and we'll find out at Inspire?
Well, yeah, the Inspire conference in July is where they're going to launch their vision and a lot of the announcements that are coming up. But they've been kind of talking about what the world's going to look like in the new cloud environment that Microsoft's building. Obviously, they're not walking away from the on-premise world. That's too big. It's too important. But for the majority of resellers out there, there is an expectation that a lot, if not the majority of business will transition to the cloud, and the partner competencies are heading that direction. So they've got 6 tiers of competencies that they've announced, and a lot of that's just been kind of realigning existing competencies and renaming them. Unfortunately, that means you have to take new tests and spend new money, but the ones that are probably the most relevant for the CSP community are going to be the cloud platform, which focuses in on Azure and delivering services in the cloud, the mobility, enterprise mobility management, and then not surprisingly, but somewhat surprisingly, the Windows and devices competency that really relates to getting Windows devices out there, either desktop, laptops, tablets, and getting applications and solutions delivered on those. That's going to be where they see the partner community really shining in the new era, and they've kind of put a deadline on a lot of people to get some of these things done with the next expiration or the next rotation. So sometime in the next 18 months, you may be rushing hard to get some tests done and some references done to get current on the competencies that they've got rolled out.
There you go. Hey, quickly, any rumors about contest offers and incentives? And by contest, I mean a decade ago. I can't believe it, but a decade ago we had the Grand Canyon River Rafting Contest, and we had the 3 smart cars we gave away the following year. Again, don't speak outside of school, but I'm just curious if you're hearing any rumors of contest. I love contest.
Yeah, I mean, we've got incentives in market, and if you're not familiar with the microsite for Synnex, those are all documented there. You can just go to synnex.com/Microsoft conveniently, and it takes you right to them. There's 3 in space right now. They're not really individual contests. They're more promotions to help you make more money as the fiscal year wraps up here in June. But this morning, I, like a lot of people, got an announcement from BitTitan that the free licenses that they were funded by Microsoft to hand out when you buy Office 365 new seats were going to expire in 3 days. And before I got on before I got on the phone here with you this afternoon, we learned that no, actually Microsoft's going to extend that to the end of their fiscal year. So through June, those BitTitan licenses will be available, continue to be available free through June 30. So a lot of good stuff in market to help people close business.
Boy, howdy, it's use it or lose it season. Hey, Mark, we better move along, but thanks for the chance to have a chit-chat. Nice to meet you virtually, and we'll see you hopefully up at Inspire, my friend.
Indeed. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, hey, Jenny, why don't you take control back? Let's get back to Douglas. Let's talk security. There you go. Douglas, are you there, my friend?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Doug, if you could take screen control, and let's go back to the deck, the slide you were on, my friend, and away we go.
Just a second.
And while you're doing that, folks, thanks for joining us. Part 4 of a 6-part series. Be sure to use the question feature to ask your questions. Okay. Doug, I see the slide called Some More Highlights. Let's rock.
Okay, nice. So this report basically showcases 3 different types of threats. Okay, number 1 is exploits. Okay, and this is mainly caught by our IPS engine on FortiGate sensors and honeypots around the world. The other part is antivirus engines. Okay, this is basically from our Sandbox cloud service and our FortiGate AV engines and sensors, and botnet activity. Okay, so what we're looking at it right now is the top 20 exploits across regions. Those are the attacks that were most prevalent on different regions, and we see here that the top 3 are very well spread throughout all of the world. So we got bash functions definitions, remote code execution. This is it is a bug in bash, but it is easily exploitable via the web as well, because it can when your browser is accessing a website, it's basically sending an HTTP GET, okay? And this HTTP GET, once the web server gets this information, what it does is that it will allocate all of this information on the HTTP GET on environment variables. And if your system is running bash, basically to execute command on your web server is as simple as appending a string to this HTTP GET. So this is why it's so prevalent, right? We know that bash is one of the most used softwares in the whole world, because it's being used on Linux and Unix-like systems since the dawn of the internet, right? And on the second place, we have another web-related vulnerability, and on the third place as well, okay? So you see here that most of the vulnerabilities are exploited across the board, and that ties up to the automated attacks, and that most threats are still opportunistic in nature, right? So remember, there's no way to hide on the internet, and there's definitely some adversaries with regional missions, right? But most of them don't care where they score their next payday. It's all about maximizing their time, maximizing their efforts and their infrastructure that they are dedicating to these attacks, okay? One other interesting takeaway that I can see here is that we have a lot of IoT-related vulnerabilities, guys. And IoT is especially worrisome because most of these devices are stripped-down versions of hardware and software and have no means to defend itself. While we are talking about a notebook or even mobile platforms today that are pretty good hardware, right? Most of them are quad cores, have 8 gigs of RAM. They have the capability and the resources to run like antivirus softwares, right? But IoT devices don't, right? And this is not even the worst case, the most problem, because most of the IoT manufacturers are shipping those products with hard-coded passwords. So they are adding more and more problems to an already broken model, right? So we can see here that the D-Link device is unauthenticated remote command execution. It's being widely exploited around the world. We have some exploits that are related to DVR cameras. We have some other here that are related to cameras again, the CCTV remote vendors code execution. And obviously, as encrypted traffic is becoming ubiquitous into the internet, we have some vulnerabilities which are related to SSL itself, right? We have here SSL v2, OpenSSL, get shared ciphers. It's an overflow attempt to execute code on a web server that's running SSL, right? And we have other vulnerabilities as well, but probably they're not on the top 20. When talking about malware, right? One of the most prevalent malwares that we have seen are ransomware. And the first one that you guys are seeing, which is a JS scenario code, is a JavaScript that is responsible for downloading and executing ransomware like Locky and CryptoWall. So it's very prevalent. And it's prevalent all around the world, right? Another interesting thing, another interesting takeaway that I see here is that we have on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, and 6th place a mobile malware, right, guys? And this is very, very interesting. And if you look at it, where it's more prevalent, it is in Africa. Okay, so this is an interesting takeaway as well. Top 20 botnets across regions. Again, one interesting thing is that Andromeda, which is a very resilient botnet, which has anti-detection capabilities, it uses encrypted communications, and it is peer-to-peer. It is very prevalent all around the world except Europe, okay, where the push-do is the most prevalent botnet that you can see. Most of these botnets are pretty old, guys. The NJ-RAT and the Andromeda are from 2009, 2010, and they are still very active. Okay, so this is very worrisome because it shows that cyber criminals are still succeeding in infecting computers worldwide and are using these computers to whatever means they deem necessary, launching DDoS attacks, exfiltrating company data, using this to generate revenue to click fraud or even Bitcoin mining, as it was the case with the new malware, which is called Adilcus. I'm not sure if you guys were aware of this, but just I think it was a week or no, three days after the WannaCry outbreak, a security researcher named Caffeine discovered that there was a malware called Adilcus that leveraged the same exploit that WannaCry did, but it didn't encrypt the victim's machine. So it sit there silently using computer resources to mine cryptocurrencies. So this is happening, and it really is something that it is important to understand what is the prevalence of botnets, because it can focus the efforts. This is especially good for law enforcement, which is one of our partnerships with Interpol and FBI. This is gold for them because they can focus their efforts and tackling down botnets in specific countries, okay? And the law enforcement aspect of our partnership is very important because it is very easy for cyber criminals alike to shift infrastructure, right? Okay, so the Interpol has tracked down 200 servers that are related to the Andromeda botnet, for instance, and they go then they take down the servers, but in a few hours you have other servers that are running and are using this code to exploit vulnerabilities. And what we understand is you have to go to the head of the snake. Okay, you have to take down the people that do this, not only going after the infrastructure and creating blocks, because this can be easily circumvented. Okay, guys? So with that, we have some conclusions and recommendations. Number one, SSL, that deals in encrypted traffic, right? Determine whether encrypted network traffic may be hampering your ability to detect lurking threats. And this is very, very troublesome, guys. If you have no visibility into a traffic stream, you won't have ability to inspect it and look for threats, okay? Many defensive tools have poor visibility into encrypted communication, and obviously that represents a blind spot in your environment. You don't want that. We presented views into threats that spans the kill chain, from pre-attack to weaponization and post-compromise. So, well, as I talked to you guys, the exploit is the delivery mechanism, right? It will try to leverage a known vulnerability on a client software, for instance, to deliver a malware, and then when the malware is installed, has infected the machine, it will then try to communicate. So it is the infection chain, okay? It is a reminder that defenses should be spread along the chain as well. Okay, so you gotta have your antivirus, you gotta have your firewall with new generation capabilities that is able to recognize applications, that is able to look into encrypted traffic, that has any good antivirus capabilities to stop the virus before entering your network, and obviously a well-tuned IPS system that is looking for threats that matches your environment's characteristics. Okay, this is very important. Don't just get a security appliance, plug it into your network, and as soon as traffic is flowing, forget about this. Security is an ongoing process. Security vendors can only offer as much as 99.9% security. That 0.001% is specific to an environment, and you gotta take a responsibility to understand how everything maps and connects together. Okay. Number three, while targeted attacks often grab the headlines, obviously because they are targeted towards big corporations, right? The report reminds us that the bulk of these threats are opportunistic in nature. So again, botnets launching attacks against corporations, right? We have seen a massive amount of exploits that could not have been sent by humans alone. We're talking about billions of events, okay? Minimizing the externally visible and accessible attack surface will effectively remove you from the attacker's radar, okay? So if you have a system that is gotta be in front of the internet, it's gotta be accessible to the world, make sure they are authenticated. Make sure you have two-factor authenticator on that. If the data that's flowing is sensitive, make sure to implement SSL on this, okay? Number four, in addition to reducing unwanted accessibility, it is imperative to minimize exposed vulnerabilities as well. And that has long been a standard practice, but sometimes routine and complexity combine to breed overlooked systems that fall out of the patch cycle. And this was, we've seen this clearly with WannaCry, right, guys? We have big corporations which we think they have solid security postures, and they were hit by a malware that was exploiting a vulnerability that was a couple of years old, and the vendor has already issued a patch, okay? The patch has been issued for 2 months, and people don't patch. So make sure to take a proactive stance and understanding the threat landscape, understand your environment. Be sure to know what the capabilities of your security infrastructure and try to work with that, okay? Automated attack tools are unfortunately adept at uncovering such oversights, obviously, okay? Number five, the days of AV software being the sole or primary layer of defense against malware are gone, right? Obviously, you have to do this. The most, and this is an interesting thing. I was part of a roadshow for a system integrator that's a partner of ours, and one of the results of the polls that they've done is that most 44%, I guess, yeah, 44% of the companies don't have advanced threat protection, okay? And this is the thing that caught zero-day malware, guys. So if there is a threat that is leveraging unknown vulnerability that is able to effectively evade antivirus, that would be caught by the sandbox. So make sure to have, and you don't even have to buy an appliance for that. Most vendors today have sandbox cloud, which is just a way to supplement your security posture. Fortinet has also a sandbox cloud offering. So if you have a FortiGate and you have antivirus on that FortiGate, FortiGate can send files to our sandbox clouds for analysis to look for zero-day threats. Okay. Number 6, mobile malware. Right, is challenging, obviously, because as long as the mobile device is within your network, he's leveraging the protection capabilities of your environment. But it is a mobile device. It's not going to stay on a network forever. It's going to join Wi-Fi airport networks. It will join Wi-Fi networks at home, at friends' home, and where it was not, where it does not have any kind of security devices to filter and look for vulnerabilities or for threats, right? So make sure to when these devices are within your network, make sure to create a VLAN for them, and make sure that when these devices must communicate to any of your internal assets, that they pass to a traffic inspecting device that has antivirus capabilities, that has IPS capabilities, right? Don't just join them on the corporate Wi-Fi, right? These are devices that are far off your control, guys. So you gotta build controls around that to make sure that you won't be a victim of the cybercriminal world. Number 7, we learned that ransomware affected over 10% of firms. Okay, some degree. Yeah, obviously. Okay, so make sure this is again talking about zero-day threats that could be stopped if you have if you have patched, if most of the systems that were affected were patched, nothing would have happened, right? Number 8, our findings pertaining botnet serve as a reminder that monitoring what's going out of your network is just important as coming in. Right. You gotta understand what's the whole picture, not only what's coming in. Right. You gotta understand if you're infected, which machines are infected, and building around the defenses around that in an automated manner is what we are proposing with the security fabric. Right. The security fabric will have complete visibility of all endpoints, and as soon as it detects a deviation of behavior for this endpoint, it can quickly send a command to the switch and shut down the port, for instance, right? Number 9, threat actors do manage and establish a beachhead. They will next begin a land grabbing phase into other parts of the network, right? So be sure to have a segmentation within your network, right? Segmentation could have stopped the lateral spread of WannaCry, for instance, right? Because once WannaCry was infected in a machine, it was starting to probe for other machines to exploit and infect. So if you had an internal segmentation solution, probably the infected portion would be just one department, so you have containment. So again, internal segmentation and full visibility are a must. So with that, we have the Fortinet Security Fabric, which is just an integrated and collaborative.
Yes. Douglas, yeah, if you don't mind, we're at the top of the hour.
Oh, okay.
And so I need to do a little, yeah, no problem. I need to do a little bit of housekeeping. So, Jenny, I'm kind of in the mood for some football. If you wanna key that up, it's my goodness, only 6 to 7 weeks. Okay, we're back. So, so Joe, 1 week later, sir, I'm back in Seattle. I talked to you last week from Denver at DataCon. Where are you coming to us from today, Joe?
Today, I'm back in New York, Harry. I'm back in New York City.
Okay. Okay, great. So, hey, we have a poll up on the screen, folks. So maybe while we're chatting, you could, folks, you could take take a second to complete the poll. Joe, I had a couple questions come in, and I've been waiting.
Sure.
So we have Jonathan out there who asked, does Fortinet have a cloud-based solution that scales from SMBs to enterprises? That's Jonathan asked that.
Sure, absolutely. So all of our solutions are actually offered in both physical and virtual appliances. We're also skewed up with both Amazon AWS Marketplace and also Microsoft Azure. So we do have a cloud offering out there for all of our partners. It is scalable, obviously, just like all of our solution scales from the smallest of offices for SMB all the way up to, you know, carrier class. So we have it all out there, and probably the website's the best resource to get more information.
Okay, great. And then Gary asked, I'll paraphrase, he's essentially asking, what's the nature of your pre-sales support? And maybe quite frankly, if you had to grade yourself on pre-sales support, what grade might you give other than an A+?
Oh, Harry, of course, always an A+. No, I tell you what, we've made a significant investment in our pre-sales and channel support for all of you partners out there. We do have a dedicated channel organization. In fact, that's the primary role that I do. You know, we have dedicated account managers. We also have dedicated channel account SEs as well. Along with that, we do have field representatives in all of your regions that have both sales resources, pre-sales resources, and pre-sales engineer resources. One of the things, too, that we do is we provide all of our education and training at no cost to any partner. So I'd like to think that we do offer second to none. Obviously, I think all of us on the manufacturer side think we do a great job. I think we do a very exceptional job at enabling our partners on the pre-sales and post-sales. You know, we're there. It's a true partnership.
Okay, great. And then part of my reason for going down to the Bay Area next week is to actually stop by and visit with Fortinet. And I think I'm going to see you next week. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think you're on the calendar. I'll be in DC some next week, but I'll also be back in the Bay for sure.
Okay, that's what I thought. Again, that's more or less, you know, kind of almost a sideline conversation, but I'm looking forward to seeing the Fortinet operations and catching up with you. With that said, I know the real reason we're here is to have the attendees get their fill of security. So, Jenny, why don't we go ahead and bring Douglas back up to the foreground? Joe, we're going to put you back up on the shelf, my friend. I'll talk to you next week.
No problem. Thanks, Harry. Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty. Okay, and we're back. Douglas, I can see your screen. Let's rock and roll, man.
Okay, guys. Thank you. So I was talking to you guys about the security fabric, right? Security fabrics could be think of as like a framework that has a brain to it. Okay, so you have what is called the next generation CM, which is our FortiSIEM, which is a device that has capability to aggregate logs from a variety of devices, and it has the ability to not only aggregate logs but look into SNMP, MIBs. You can even craft what is called the event grabbers, right? So we have capability to if you have a device like an IoT device that is basically a Unix device that can support Telnet or SSH, you can monitor. So it is a brain that connects everything that is going on with the devices in the network. So it is able to baseline behaviors, processes on each machine, traffic to and from the network, and with that in mind, it can then look for patterns of deviations on top of it. And one important thing about the security fabric is that it has the ability to ingest and use local and global threat intelligence. And this is one of the most exciting things because it gives each network the ability to behave like a human immune system, right? I'll give you guys an example. Today, as of today, there is integration between the FortiMail and the FortiSandbox and the FortiGate. So let's say that an email comes in to the FortiMail, and that email contains a malicious link. Okay, what FortiMail can do is that strip that link, send to FortiSandbox for analysis, and that's the integration part. And FortiSandbox will then grab this URL, will then analyze that URL, and if found to be malicious, then you can, there's a configuration that can be done on a FortiMail. You can release the email as soon as the FortiSandbox finishes its analysis, or you can send it to the user anyway. Most implementations would want to wait for the analysis because this is very quick. It takes less than three minutes, depending on the length of the analysis. And once this analysis is done, FortiSandbox can then leverage this information to supplement the web filtering capabilities of the FortiGate. So if you think of it, is kind of like something is trying to hit you, you understand it, and you convert this into actionable security intelligence that's going to protect you on the perimeter, right? Another very interesting thing that could be done with the security fabric is that the FortiSIEM has something called FortiSIEM Windows Agent Manager. It's basically an agent that sits on a Windows machine, and it profiles everything about the machine. So let's say, and it has one of the features called File Integrity Monitoring. Okay, so with this integrity monitoring feature, it is able to understand if the integrity of files are changing. So let's say that a ransomware infects this machine, and it starts encrypting files. Once it starts encrypting files, the integrity of the files will change. So we can set a threshold on the FortiSIEM to set, for instance, hey, if the amount of file integrity changes on this endpoint is more than 10% in an hour, for instance, or in a given amount of time, I want you to generate an alert to me. So when this happens, the endpoint triggers an alert on FortiSIEM, and what you can do in FortiSIEM, you can create event handlers. So I can create an event handler to receive an event from any endpoint that has identified file integrity changes more than 10% in a given amount of time. And what I want to do is this. For instance, you can create an action. Okay, so if the FortiSIEM understands that this is happening, it can then trigger a response to the switch or to the FortiGate to quarantine that machine and to contain the incident, right? So again, more of that automation piece coming into play to help organizations and enterprises alike to lessen the time to respond, mitigate to threats, right? Because this is we are just stepping up the game, because threats are increasingly automated in nature. They are becoming more sophisticated. Most of them are using blended behavior blending to hide themselves into the network noise. So it is important to understand what is out there to protect you guys from this type of threats. And the security fabric is kind of trying to play in this automated scenario, automated defenses. So with that, I think I'll be open to questions to you guys.
Okie dokie. Well, I kind of cleared the deck earlier. So folks, if you have some questions, now would be the time to ask those. While you're marshaling your questions, once again, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. So next week, Bay Area, Tuesday night, if anyone wants to get together for a good old-fashioned SMB Nation Beer Fest like the old days, July 9th is our SMB Nation Beer Fest at the WPC Inspire Conference in Washington, D.C. Communications going out on that in just a couple of hours. You do not have to go to WPC Inspire to attend our gathering. This is actually outside the perimeter, which is actually, it makes it really cool that the locals can come and so on. Followed with ChannelCon, so ChannelCon, the CompTIA event in July 31st, August 1st and 2nd in Austin. And boy, howdy, that is one fun town. Doug, I think the deck is clear. So I want to thank everybody for attending today. This is being recorded, as well as some resource links and the video links that we'll send to you. You'll be getting a thank you webinar email from us. Tomorrow, if you want to peek over at smbnation.com under webinars, tomorrow we have an Office 365 webinar, so it's a double dip this week. And then in terms of the MSP Tech Talk series, installment number 5 with Grant next Wednesday, noon Pacific, so same bat time, same bat channel. Hey, wait a minute, that has new meetings since we lost, what was the fine Sir Adam West. We lost him, Batman himself, earlier this week, so maybe we'll end on that little shout out to Batman. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Fortinet. Thanks, Cynics. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, guys. It was my pleasure. Till next time.